Fantastic. Welcome back, everybody. A pleasure to have you for the live, and welcome as well to all of our replay viewers. I'm so happy today to be live with Tamay, who is actually live streaming with us from Frankfurt, Germany. Tamay is a savvy attorney who is very involved in legal tech in Germany, in his community. And today he will be sharing his journey into innovation, especially with law students, given he's been doing some incredible work with the University of Frankfurt. So we'll be having kind of a discussion around his experience, his challenges, and how he overcame them, so we can all learn from Tamay's experience. Hi, Tamay. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Tessa. It's great to be here.
Do you want to say a little more about what you do, and also your startup, and so we can learn a little more about your background before we go into more crunchy details about your experiences?
Yeah, sure. I can say a few sentences about that. Yes, I'm a former lawyer in big law firms here in Frankfurt, and 1.5 years ago, my partner Henrik and we decided to leave our respective professions. Henrik is a IT consultant for like over a decade now, and we teamed up to bring the digitization to the legal world. And yeah, what we basically do is we provide consulting on legal issues, not as a lawyer, well, not from a lawyer's perspective, more from a general perspective. And we design processes, we design products for lawyers or for in-house counsel, and we design them, and we have the capability to build them too, like from the IT side. Yeah, that's basically what we do.
Fantastic, Tammy. That seems like a very needed profession now with all of the changes going on in the profession. So do you want to tell us a little more about this program, or maybe before we go into the program, maybe just do you want to update us on the status of legal tech in Germany?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Legal tech began in I think in the mid 2016. There was a uprise of the term legal tech, and during the last year 2017, there was a big hype. And from my perspective, in the end of last year, there was the conclusion that tech will not heal all the wounds we have in the legal industry. So this year, lawyers are looking very closely to their processes, and not so they don't jump so quickly on easy solutions. But this doesn't mean that the legal market is digitized in Germany. Most of the lawyers I know are still in the wait and see phase of this, so they consider themselves as late followers, not early adopters. And from the startup side in Germany, we have a couple of B2B startups who are developing Lawlift, for instance. Of course, most people know Leverton from Germany. On the B2C side, there is I think there's a really vast growth in this area, and I think this will be growing this and next year, and then maybe the consolidation will start. So
fantastic. So how about in law school? And is there something happening in law school for legal tech?
Yeah, it started this year, and I'm kind of proud to say that we are one of the very early members of this movement. Of course, in Germany we have the Bucerius Law School, and the Bucerius is, of course, has a leading role in the innovation field, in the field of legal tech. So students at the Bucerius Law School, meanwhile, they have a very advanced program, including coding for lawyers, coding courses for over a whole semester, and they can really learn a very broad skills. As to the state schools, the Bucerius is a private school, but most of the law schools in Germany are state schools. Legal innovation, legal tech. Yeah, last year we had the first kind of just talks about it, or a conference in the University of Mannheim, for instance. But this year, the first 3 or 4 law schools started to implement lectures about legal innovation. So we have in Frankfurt, we have been working on this program here now, and 2 weeks ago we concluded the first 6 lectures about this topic.
And can you tell us more about those topics? Because it seems very innovative to have those kind of topics inside universities and state schools as well. Do you want to mention what are you teaching to law students?
Yeah, sure. We decided, our first idea was we wanted to implement a legal innovation hub here in Frankfurt. But this was a very big idea, and it's not feasible right now. So we thought, what are the skills students should learn or should know about during their studies? Because maybe before I elaborate on the specifics, in Germany, law students up to the first state exam, they don't learn anything practical. They only learn theory and material law. So they don't learn any skills as to drafting, as to argumenting. Those skills are taught after the university. So the question of legal innovation mostly is connected with practical skills and not with theoretical skills. So the university was first quite reluctant to implement this, but we're very happy that we have one professor here in Frankfurt who has a program which is called Schlüsselqualifikation, which teaches students skills like negotiation or how to start a law firm or something like that. So to give them practical skills before they graduate from university. And our program is now part of this whole schedule. And so we first thought, what has a student has to know to understand the innovation and the technical aspects of this. And the first thing was to understand how a lawyer works, because students don't know how lawyers work, and they also don't know how lawyers earn money. And the whole legal tech, legal innovation movement, of course, considers or is very closely connected to the question how a lawyer earns money and how a lawyer works. So first, we started to get it to teach them or give them insights on how lawyers work, to really let them understand where the problems are. And when we did that, then we showed them what the market is. So like a small introduction, which took about 4 hours, and then we went into more specifics. So the first part was like this introduction. The second part was an introduction to coding for lawyers, which was held by my partner Henrik. In the third part, we gave them some insights on entrepreneurship, so the basics of entrepreneurship, how to build a product, how to scan a market, how to understand the customer. In the next 2 sessions, Michael Grupp of a German Frankfurt-based startup writer was teaching 2 different topics. The first one was automation of decision automation, and the second one was a general overview on artificial intelligence in law. And this all was concluded by a legal design workshop I held last week with the students. And yeah, it was after all, this was a great experience. And the students, from my perspective, they started out with 0 knowledge about the topic, and in the end, most of them asked us how they could get into this market and how they could get more involved with the innovation topics. So I think I consider this very great thing for us.
And the students who have been learning those topics, most of them, I would imagine, are legal students. Did you have also some tech people? Tech people in no, it was lawyers. So it was inside a law school. And what was the reaction? So I understand the reaction was very positive since they approached you at the end of the program in order to know how they could go further in this direction. Do you have a few more feedback that you can share from the students you've been training about those sessions?
Yeah, the feedback was actually I haven't received the evaluation results yet, so I only can say what I felt subjectively, but I had the feeling that the students somehow saw another answer to their question, which is always revolving about around this law study. What will I do with this? So if you're in Frankfurt and study law in Frankfurt, of course you see all these big law firms and these big banks, and most of the students don't even think about alternatives to this way of working. And yeah, the sheer amount of the questions we received, we got some of them thinking about what will happen when they graduate and when they become attorneys. But because you have to think about that, the students now, they're in their third, fourth year. When they graduate and when they have their second state exam and they the bar admission in Germany, it will be 2023-ish, something about that. So the world will be quite different than now, and I think they should really know about what happens then. So maybe think about not focusing on M&A and due diligence work, maybe on some other works, for instance.
Yeah, because part of the M&A and due diligence is going to be automated as well, correct? And so it's an opportunity for future lawyers to learn new job opportunities that sort of we have to create ourselves, and that they will have to create as well for themselves. And it's a great program that you've been setting up, and I'm sure it must have been quite a challenge at the beginning. But with the right connections and the right people, it's very inspiring to see what you've been able to set up in the curriculum. So that's very inspiring to see. And now, what about this standardized process you are working on, which I believe is with Streamlaw, I believe. Do you want to tell us a little more about how you are sort of streamlining the legal work process and how you're doing this?
Yeah, actually, it's we are in the middle of developing this process, and what we are trying to achieve is to have a publication where there's like a guideline for lawyers who want to be innovative or want to change something, and which shows them which questions to ask, which topics to consider, and so that they can, for instance, run their own workshop without an expert being present. And to be clear, this is not something we are doing with Streamlaw all alone. This is something I'm doing together with a partner of a law firm here in Frankfurt, in Germany, and it's not final yet, so we cannot discuss it in detail. But what we're trying to do is to, from all this innovation and legal tech talk which is out there and which is kind of overwhelming to people who are not very closely connected to these issues, we want to distill the essence and give people a framework which they can use to answer simple questions. Because what I experienced, or what we have experienced, is most of the topics and most of the problems are not to be solved with huge innovation strategies and great tech solutions. Mostly we have really small problems, small steps, and I think if you get people going with that, then we can talk afterwards. We can talk about real great projects and programs. But first, I think people have to understand what mindset is important, and so yeah, this will be quite interactive, so that people can use it, can ask questions, can draw something, but it won't be a textbook, a classic textbook, you know.
So I understand it's going to be in the same line of thought as the curriculum at the University of Frankfurt. We are talking about something very practical, very concrete. So actually, you can have lawyers get started in a more easy manner than starting to talk about, AI and blockchain, and then like, ooh, where do we get started? And it's kind of overwhelming. So have you started to approach the market, or do you have some insights to share with us because I'm sure you've done some research in order to come up with this idea? Do you have some insight that you want and then you can share with us about why you're doing this and why you think it's important to use this kind of streamline process?
Yeah, there are different reasons. I think the first reason is that so of course we are also businessmen, and of course we want to have a business in this area. And what we experience is that lots of law firms and legal departments, what they need right now is like a quick checkup. So they need some quick information, very condensed to the point, so they can because lawyers are very intelligent people. You have to give them the right information, and then they will have the right or good conclusions about that. So if we try to teach them how to use different techniques like design thinking, like lean startup, or like business model generation, or like the business model canvas, something like that. These are all things people can use by their own up to a certain extent. And actually what we want to do is to help them after a certain point. Because what we are now doing is give people a lot of basic knowledge, a lot of basic information and basic skills. But that's actually something we can give them in a way, maybe. And then afterwards we can build on this knowledge to really have the great project. So that's the first point. Yeah, the next point is, of course, that's content marketing as well. So it's very important to share your information, share your knowledge, and it's also something we're not final yet about how we will publish this, whether it will be completely open source, or maybe part of this will be open source and part of this will be behind a paywall, something like that. We don't know it yet, but we're very eager to share lots of this on an open source basis, so people really can download something and start doing this. Actually, there are a lot of inspirations for that. For instance, like Margaret Hagan in Stanford, who shares her entire projects and her legal design book, and that's actually something I'm also working with. So that's great, and it's also part of our idea behind that.
So yeah, the idea is also to share the knowledge, so we can keep learning from each other, which is great, because there's so much to learn, isn't there?
Yeah.
For the live viewers, it's an opportunity for you to ask questions to Tamay. You can use the chat box just underneath the video. So feel free to type in some comments. I will put a little word right now so you can see the window pop in if you want to ask a question or put some comments. And in the meantime, I would be very curious to know what would be sort of the 3 tips from Tamay for our community that is interested into evolving in legal tech and in legal design. Some are actually already quite involved and they already have their own startups, some very successful actually. But would you have some maybe 3 tips, your 3 best tips in order to get started and to move further into this very exciting field? And to do so, I might put you on full screen so we can really learn about you, your great tips, Tammy.
Yeah, the great tips. The problem with great tips is that most of them have been given before. I think if you consider yourself an entrepreneur and want to start something from the scratch, you really have to think about where your monetary basis is coming from, whether your idea is fit for to provide for life and your family. So that's the first tip is think about in which context you want to be an innovator. Do you want to be an innovator in-house or within a law firm, which might be more difficult because there are a lot of constraints? Or do you want to be an external innovator and then face the challenge of having to provide for yourself and your family? So that's the first idea which people should be very, very concerned about. The second would be talk to people, be open. Don't hold your ideas back. If you're a lawyer, lawyers tend to keep their knowledge with them and everywhere look at people and see dangers for their knowledge and for their intellectual property. That's completely the wrong approach to evolve, because every one of us is standing in front of a black box, and you have to challenge your ideas and you have to challenge your thoughts and your views, and this will only happen if you talk to people about this. And yeah, of course, some people will steal your ideas, but this doesn't happen, because then we go to the third point, which is just do it, and doing is the hard part about it. Having great ideas is great, but promoting them and then doing them and implementing a solution, building a solution, doing marketing about it, that's the real hard part. And the sooner you start with that, the sooner you learn how to do it. And we're still on a learning curve for that. And lawyers really have to get some field experience, because we are not used to doing that. That's the problem.
Well, thank you. That was. I also agree. I mean, the marketing part is probably the most challenging part and the most important one as well, because you might have the greatest product if no one knows about it. Then what's the point, right? So I totally agree with your line of thought. And I see no questions from the live viewers, but I'm sure there will be more opportunity to connect with you, Tamay. How can live viewers and the replay viewers, how can they connect with you, Tamay?
Oh, it's on every channel available. I think you have. I'm now hearing myself. It's strange. You can find me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and also you can always drop me an email at tamay@streamlab.de. I think Tessa is very, very great in promoting over LinkedIn. This would be a great way to connect with me. So I'm very very happy to discuss any ideas with the community, of course.
Fantastic, thank you, Tamay. And if you wonder how to write Tamay, that's, I don't know if you can see it. Oops. Here is Tamay. Schimang.
Yeah, typical German name. Yes.
And to everyone who's following, make sure to, if you find the content inspiring and interesting, make sure to, share with your crowd, share with your network on about this event. We have more sessions coming up right now. We will actually be talking about some legal tools that lawyers can start using now in order to grow their online presence. We will be also talking about a very interesting kind of partnership between a legal tech startup in Canada and one of the big accounting firms, PwC. So that is coming up as well. And finally, but not least, we'll be featuring Eileen Schlutz. I think it's also a German name. I'm not sure how to say it properly. Who is the co-founder of Global Legal Hackathon, and she will be talking about global legal innovation, making a call to action, and which I'm sure you don't want to miss. So stay tuned for the other sessions coming up. Share with your friends on LinkedIn, Twitter, legal underscore creatives. And we'll continue in the next digital room with the next speaker. But before that, I want to say thank you, Tamay, so much for making the time to join us for this live and to share your insights and your journey. Personally, I've been learning a lot from you, and I look forward to following what's going to unfold for you in this new project. So congratulations for everything you've been doing, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, Tessa. It has been my pleasure, and I'm also looking forward to following what you're doing with Legal Creatives, and very much looking forward to the next talks. Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, love viewers.
Bye bye.
See you in the next room.